Hello everyone, welcome to day 3 Innistrad Crimson Vow spoilers. We've been getting pretty good cards so far and I hope the trend continues. But anyways, first card. We got a Biolume Egg, 3 mana 0/4 Serpent Egg with a Defender. 3 mana for a 0/4. It's pretty costly, Defender, and the fact that it's also, yeah, Defender. When Biolume Egg enters the battlefield, scry 2. When you sacrifice Biolume Egg, return it to the battlefield, transform under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Return to the battlefield, transform under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, let's see what it transforms to. Biolume Serpent. 4/4. Sacrifice 2 islands. Can't be blocked this turn. I mean, this won't see play, right? Just you have to sacrifice 2 islands so that you can't block this turn. So obviously they're trying to make this card work with the exploit mechanic they're introducing. Yeah, this is not a card. It's might not even be a card for draft. It's kind of hard. Like, next card. Change of Fortune. 4 mana, sorcery. Discard your hand, then draw a card for each card you've discarded this turn. Interesting. 4 mana is kind of a lot. You have to discard your hand and draw a card for each card you've discarded this turn. So if you've discarded, so let's say you've cycled or discarded this turn, then you get to draw more cards after you play this. It's kind of janky. The fact that it's off, I guess you can use this as like some kind of a janky combo piece, but it is very expensive. It is very expensive as a combo piece. 4 mana is, when you cast 4 mana, you expect to win with this kind of card. It's also a very bad top deck unless you have been keeping cards intentionally in your hand. There's also no madness mechanic in this standard set. Obviously, in historic, there are some madness cards now, like Fiery Temper and Blazing Root Walla. But even then, you pay the 4 mana to discard, and you also need an extra mana to cast Fiery Temper, right? So you would need 5 mana to do that. Obviously, you can cast Blazing Root Walla for free, but Blazing Root Walla is the only 0-cost madness card in historic. Yeah, just the fact that this is a bad top deck, because if you don't have anything in your hand and you cast this, you don't draw any cards. If you had a card, then you casted 4 mana to draw a single card, which is really bad value, right? So I think for that purpose, I don't think this card's gonna be played in both standard and historic. Next card. Hovering Curtains. 1 mana 0/4. Typical defender stats. The fact that it's a sorcery speed to transform this is really bad. See what it transforms into. Hovering Eye. 3/4. Menace. Menace is good. When this creature transforms into an Uncovering Eye, target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card in it. If you do, that player discards that card. Then draw a card. Okay. It's kind of unfortunate they have to draw a card, but it's not bad. I've seen worse. I mean, obviously, 1 mana 0/4 defender is decent stats. As you've seen from Smoldering Egg, The 4, even though people play 2 mana 0/4, right? They can usually get away with it. 4 toughness is pretty hard to get rid of in standard, and also acts as a pretty good blocker. But in historic, there's definitely no chance, but it's definitely not bad. It's definitely not bad. If you're kind of like more control-y deck, you play a 1 mana 0/4 that can eventually transform into a 3/4, and you can remove a key card that you can't really answer at the moment. They get to draw a card, but the chance of them drawing that perfect card after you've discarded is pretty low. And you also looked at their hand, which is also another advantage, right? It has a potential of being played in standard. Definitely not in historic, but it's definitely not bad. Okay, next card. Dormant Grove. 4 mana enchantment. At the beginning of the combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. And if that creature has toughness 6 or greater, transform Dormant Grove. This card's too costly for the effect of putting a +1/+1 counter. So the transform better be like absurd, right? Okay, let's take a look. Gnarled Grove Strider, which is a 3/6 vigilance. Other creatures you control have vigilance. Yeah, this card is not good. You won't see this in standard and historic. The effect is too slow and the payoff is not there. Next card. Okay, Dread Fugue. 1 mana. Has a cleave cost 3. Target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, square bracketed, with mana value 2 or less. That player discards that card. So for a 3 mana, you can discard a card of your choice. Non-land card. Otherwise, it's a baby Kozilek of Inquisition of Kozilek. Okay, so it's like a hybrid between a Thoughtseize and a baby Inquisition of Kozilek. So if I compare this to those two, in historic, there's no time to pay 3 to discard a single card. Too inefficient. And already Inquisition of Kozilek sees less play than Thoughtseize. So this card probably won't see any play just because of that. Just because of the fact that Inquisition already doesn't see as much play as Thoughtseize, and this is worse than Inquisition of Kozilek because it's only 2 mana value 2 or less. And when do you have time to actually pay 3 to get a full discard effect, right? If you do this against Shaman, you basically lose. If you pay 3 against a control deck just to get rid of something, I don't think that's gonna happen. You paid 3 mana to do that thing, they probably have an efficient counterspell at hand. Yeah, it's just not... I don't like it. Usually when you want to play discard spell against a control deck, you want to Thoughtseize them for 1, and then you get... And if they play a counterspell, they tap out, and then you get to play something after that, because it only costed you 1 mana. But if you play Dread Fuge against a control deck, they might not even counter if you paid 1 for it, because they probably don't have anything mana value 2 or less. Especially the fact that now they don't have a memory lapse anymore. For standard, you have to compare this to Duress, right? And let's look at this. Let's look at what matchups people bring Duress, right? They bring Duress against Izzet turns. But if you play Dread Fuge against Izzet turns, you can't discard Epiphany anyways unless you pay 3 mana. And by the time you pay 3 mana, that's probably too expensive for you to do anything. So yeah, this card's just Not gonna be no chance of this being played over any of those, right? Next card, Geralf or Geralf. Visionary Stitcher. 3-1/4. Human Wizard. Legendary creature. Zombies you control have flying. Why is this a human? I mean, it's very flavorful, but the fact that it's a human, it doesn't even give this card itself flying. But pay 1 mana and tap itself. Sacrifice another non-token creature. Create an XX blue zombie creature token, where X is a sacrifice creature's toughness. It just makes a single token. And at the same time, it's only non-token creatures. So in standard, you can't even sacrifice a decayed zombies to make this into like an actual zombie, that actual creature that can attack and block. I guess if you play a lot of defenders, you can sacrifice those into an attacker. But it's just so slow. It's so slow and not janky, right? In historic, no chance this will ever see play, right? Because the mere zombie is just not a thing. I don't think there's a single blue zombie that's even considered good. Our job is far better choice than the mere zombies. Like their power level is just nowhere comparable. But I guess it would be kind of sweet to give Champion of Parish flying, but honestly, it doesn't even like synergize that much either. You play Champion of Parish and then you eventually play Geralf. Doesn't even pump the Parish either. Yeah, I think this card is kind of jank. Probably not gonna see play. Next card, Halana. How do you pronounce it? Halana? Halana? Alena? I like Halana, okay. Alena and Alena. Halana and Alena? Partners. Legendary creature, human ranger. It's a 4 mana for 2/3. Starting off really bad already. Really bad stats for the cost. At the beginning of the combat on your turn, put an X+1/+1 counters on another target creatures you control, where X is Lana and Alena's power. The creature gains haste until end of turn. So you play this, put 2 counters on it, counters on something. I guess in standard, you can play like Reckless Stormseeker, and then you can give 3 or 4 counters. That would be sweet, but this is also bad top deck, by the way. Because the fact that it can't put counters on itself, that means if you top deck this card with no other creatures on play, you just play the 4 mana 2/3, which is incredibly bad value. Definitely won't see play in historic. I think in standard, maybe as a like 1 or 2 of at the start, and I think it's going to go down. I think people are gonna realize this card's bad, and they're just gonna play Reckless Stormseeker, right? Just a way better card for giving haste, because it can give haste itself and pump the creature itself. Okay, next card. Investigator's Journal. 2 mana artifact clue. Investigator's Journal enters the battlefield with the number of suspect counters on it equal to the greatest number of creatures a player controls. 2 mana. Tap itself, remove a suspect counter from Investigator's Journal, draw a card. And you can sacrifice to draw a card by paying 2. So obviously you gotta compare it to Mazemind Tome. I see a bad Mazemind Tome, because what made Mazemind Tome so great was the fact that you can scry with it without paying any mana cost. So for this to be better than the Mazemind Tome or equal to it, it requires you to control 3 creatures, right? Since Mazemind Tome has 4 charges, it also heals you for 4. Because if there's three creatures, Investigator's Journal gets 3 counters, and then at the end you can sacrifice this to draw a card. Let's say you're playing control. Your opponent played, so on turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3, opponent played a bunch of creatures, right? They probably have 3 creatures on board. Then now it's your turn. Are you going to be playing this Investigator Journal? Or are you gonna try to control the board by using board wipes or in like a removal spell, right? Because if you play this against 3 creature board, wouldn't you just die? You have 3 creatures attacking you, and plus the Faceless Haven, right? You'd get exploded if you play this, and that's why I think this card's bad. There's also Prismari command in the format. Yeah, I think this card's just bad. Okay, next card. Vampire's Vengeance. 3 mana instant speed. Vampire's Vengeance deals 2 damage to each non-vampire creature. Create a blood token. Wow. This is an instant speed board wipe for vampires. It's a board wipe that doesn't hurt the vampires. And on top of that, it creates a blood token. This card's incredible, actually. Like, it might even see play in a non-vampire creature deck. Just the fact that it also generates an artifact that can act as a looting effect. Like, you don't need to play. Like, if you're playing like an instant speed, like if you're playing like a control deck, it's an instant speed board wipe that can generate a looting effect. Or if your deck value is having an artifact, that's also a plus as well. This card is actually insane. Obviously, you would be playing this in vampires just because the fact that it also generates a blood token. And like I said before, for the new vampire Vol'daren to be good, you need ways to generate ways to efficiently generate blood tokens. So I think this will definitely see play, even in historic and standard. And that's all for today for the Crimson Vow spoilers. Definitely not as exciting as some of the other days. I mean, there was a bomb at the very end. The Vampire's Vengeance is really, really good. But aside from that, everything else kind of, it was mediocre at best. But I guess like if every card in the set was absolutely insane, you would see another Eldraine, right? So we wouldn't want that. But anyways, if you liked the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you haven't subscribed, I'd appreciate it if you did. And I'll see you guys later for another episode of Crimson Vow spoilers.